Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you're visiting. Today my video is going to be all about my favorite orange blossom dominant fragrances. So if you like the sound of that, then please do keep on watching. But before we get started on the content, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out and I will continue making fragrance content like this in the future. So now that's out of the way, let's get started on the list. Now I feel like orange blossom is a very popular note in fragrances. It's quite a mass appealing note and very likable. It gets lots of compliments from my experience, and some of my favorite fragrances have a note of orange blossom in them. So when I was picking out the fragrances that I wanted to talk about today, some of them are quite similar, but they have subtle differences that warrant owning both, for me at least anyway, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. So let's get started on the first fragrance. First up, I want to talk about Oriana from Parfums du Mali. Now this isn't the only orange blossom fragrance from Parfums du Mali. You also have Saffanad, which I don't have in my collection, but I have to say it's a very beautiful orange blossom scent. It's kind of got a custardy feel to it. However, I did deem it to be a little bit too similar to some of the ones that I have in this list already, and my preference out of the two would be Oriana. It is the most beautiful marshmallowy raspberry cloud, lots of vanilla in there, lots of orange blossom, and I think this one is very delicious too. It has a chantilly cream note, which is just scrummy, like you want to eat this one. Well, maybe not quite, it definitely still smells like a perfume, but I do think this has a gourmand touch to it. Now, Oriana definitely opens as a cloud of orange blossom and marshmallow to me. It's so pretty, honestly. This is one of the most pretty fragrances in my collection. But then you have that chantilly cream that's giving it a slight, not necessarily creamy touch, but it's a little bit more gourmand. It's soft, it's feminine, but to me, this is just a big cloud of orange blossom, raspberry, chantilly cream, and marshmallow. You know that powdered dusting that you get on marshmallows that's nice and sugary? That is the vibe I get from this. It's almost like a powdered raspberry marshmallow with a hint of orange blossom. I've spoken about this one on my channel so many times, so if you do want a more detailed review, I'd highly recommend going and checking out some of my other videos. But I think Oriana is such a beautiful orange blossom dominant fragrance. Now, when this one was released, it was likened quite heavily to Kilian's Love Don't Be Shy. So with that being said, that is the fragrance that I'm going to be talking about next, and I will explain what I feel the differences are between the two. So as promised, next up we have Love Don't Be Shy, the original by Kilian. And I'm sure many of you have smelt this one already, and it is definitely an orange blossom dominant scent, but there is a lot of sweetness that comes through in Love Don't Be Shy too. I am getting a very beautiful caramel note throughout this one. Now, yes, it does smell similar to Oriana, or Oriana smells similar to Love Don't Be Shy because Love Don't Be Shy was launched first. But I will say Love Don't Be Shy is definitely sweeter. It's a little bit more heady, and you have to absolutely enjoy your sweet fragrances to enjoy this one. I would say it's also a lot more complex than Oriana. There's other things going on in this composition. There's more florals. I believe there's a Neroli note up top too. But I have never personally bought a full-size bottle of Love Don't Be Shy yet, because I really like it, but it doesn't feel very me when I wear it. So my preference out of Love Don't Be Shy and Oriana would be Oriana. Of course, I own the full bottle of it. But that being said, I do really like Love Don't Be Shy. It's a beautiful floral marshmallowy scent with a hint of caramel, very complex, very sweet confectionery-like. And I can see why so many people love this one. I can see why it does get so many compliments. Anytime I've worn this one, I have got compliments too. But like I said, I just don't resonate with it as much to my personal taste. I might pick up a bottle of it in the future if I see a good deal on it. I do like it. But yeah, I just think this one is a little bit sweeter and a little bit more complex than Oriana with the additional caramel note too. So the next fragrance that I'm going to discuss is Sintra by Memo, which again is likened to Love Don't Be Shy. So I'm going to explain what I feel the differences are between these two, and I will also reference back to Oriana too. So Sintra's just here. Let me just do a little swap over. So here is Sintra by Memo. This one is definitely newer to my collection. I spoke about it in my most recent haul video, and I have wanted this one for quite some time. Now, does it smell similar to Love Don't Be Shy? Yes, it does. However, I feel like Sintra smells less similar to Love Don't Be Shy than Oriana does, and there are some key reasons for that. Now, they are definitely in the same family. All three of those fragrances are in the same family. But I would say Sintra is almost the more grown-up version of the three of them. And it has a green touch to it too. And I really enjoyed the greenness that Sintra brings to the table. Like I said, it makes this one just a bit more of an elegant wear, a little bit less sweet and confectionery like. But if you do find Love Don't Be Shy to feel a little bit young when you're wearing it, then you might want to try out Sintra, because it is a very classy take on Orange Blossom, very sweet too, and it also has this kind of lactonic creaminess to it as well. Now the petitgrain and the neroli up top gives this the greenness that cuts through some of those sweeter notes in the mid and the base, and I really enjoy those two notes within this composition. It makes it quite refreshing, makes it everyday wear, and like I said, very elegant too. Now Sintra also does have caramel in it, so it does bring that sweetness to the base. However, I feel like this one is even more complex than Love Don't Be Shy. So yeah, if you found Love Don't Be Shy didn't work for you because it was a little bit too sweet, and you want something to cut through a little bit of that sweetness, maybe a green touch, then I would highly recommend checking out Sintra. It is such a beautiful scent. I know so many of you have already tried this one and own it because I saw the comments on my last video. But yeah, I would highly recommend Sintra. It's absolutely gorgeous and very addictive too. Now I want to keep on the same theme and talk about fragrances that smell slightly similar to each other. So there is a method to my madness here, and the next fragrance I want to talk about is from Parle, and it is Guimauve de Nöel. And again, this one is likened to Love Don't Be Shy, to Sintra, not so much Oriana, but actually I find this one a little bit more similar to Oriana than the other two. Now Guimauve de Nöel, probably pronouncing that incorrectly as I always do, is a straight up orange blossom marshmallow to my nose. It's a very sugary marshmallow too, and it is less complex. It doesn't have that lactonic creamy touch as do the other three fragrances, and it is a very beautiful, easy reach orange blossom. Just gonna have a little smell to remind myself. Yeah, you're getting a huge waft of orange blossom, which is gorgeous, by the way. I think there's probably some other florals in here too, but I mostly get that orange blossom. I do detect the marshmallow, but it's not as creamy and lactonic as the other fragrances like I mentioned. And not that marshmallows are creamy per se, but they give a kind of pillowy cloud. And then I'm getting lots of sugary sweetness. So this is more of a straightforward orange blossom scent. As you can see, I've worn this one quite a lot. It's got a little bit of a dent in it now. And like I said, straight up orange blossom, powdered sugar marshmallow. That is what you're getting with this one. I think this is a really gorgeous take on orange blossom. If you don't want something too complex, you want something a little bit more of a straightforward, sweet orange blossom that doesn't have the lactonicness and it doesn't have the caramel, then this one might be for you. The next fragrance that I want to discuss is Neroli Blanc Intense, and this is probably my favorite orange blossom in my collection. Do I want to hold myself to that? I am not sure. But this one is absolutely exquisite. And when I look at the rest of the fragrances that I'm talking about today, this is also one of the more affordable options. And this, again, has a similar vibe to the previous fragrances, but it sits more in the middle. And it's going to be a little bit similar to the next two fragrances that I speak about after this one. And this is definitely an orange blossom dominant fragrance, but it's got this honeyed vibe to it. So I'd say it's a honeyed orange blossom. It is groundbreakingly phenomenal. Should I say groundbreaking? Maybe it's not groundbreaking, but it is phenomenal. So let's just go with that. This time, there is a little bit more citrus in the opening. So you have mandarin and you have bergamot, and it gives this a really juicy, zesty opening, makes this a little bit more fresh and zingy. And then you've got a bit more of a fruity touch to it. There's more florals that are becoming prominent. I believe there's also a jasmine and maybe a little bit of rose. I kind of get neroli too, but this is very much a honeyed orange blossom scent. It's exquisite, truly. If you like your orange blossoms, I highly, highly, highly recommend checking out Neroli Blanc Intense. Now, this does bear some similarities to the fragrances prior. To me, this smells a little bit more similar to Sintra, but still very different. And this one is actually a little bit closer to Saffanad by Parfums de Marly, which is not in this list. And that honeyed floral gives this a bit of a unique touch. It's very juicy. It is very sweet, but there is some grounding notes of sandalwood, musk, and vanilla too. And I'd highly recommend trying to get your nose on this one if you can. It's a little bit more harder to pick up than some of these other fragrances. But when I tell you this fragrance is good, I really do mean it. And I hope anyone who sampled it feels the same. If you do not, please do let me know down in the comments. But there is a review of this one on my channel, and you can find some other reviews over on YouTube because this one is highly regarded as an orange blossom fragrance. Next up, we have Tempfluo by Nishane. And this one is a futuristic orange blossom, if that makes any sense at all. It's got this kind of otherworldly experience to it. It's still very much a floral and it's not super unique in DNA, but there's something about it that just transports me to another time and place. I don't know what it is. It kind of feels a little bit futuristic. So this is orange blossom for sure, but it has a really gorgeous note of praline in it, which makes this very different from the other fragrances I have discussed. It's maybe a tad similar to Neroli Blanc Intense, but only about 50% similar. And the reason why this one is a little bit different, I've mentioned it's got the praline, but it's also got saffron, it's got cashmere, and it's also got lots of jasmine in here too. It's kind of like Mugler's Alien and YSL Libre has had a baby, and this is like the baby in the future. Why do I keep saying future? I'm sorry if I'm confusing you with that, but that's just the feeling I get with it, and I'm going to be honest of how I feel. It's very potent, so I can't wear too much of this one because for me, it is beast mode. The longevity and the sillage are incredible. And yes, Nishane is an expensive niche house. I have the 50ml bottle, but if you like the sound of a more complex orange blossom that also has saffron, praline, cashmere, then I would recommend checking out Tempfluo. And if you like YSL Libre, but maybe it's not giving you the sillage and the longevity you want, and you want something just a little bit more dense, then Tempfluo would be a good fragrance to try. Again, I've reviewed this one on my channel. I would be happy to review it in more detail if you do want to hear more. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite orange blossoms in my collection. Now, I've only got one more fragrance to discuss with you, and I like to keep my videos a little bit more concise, and I don't like to speak about too many fragrances, and I do that on purpose. So the last fragrance that I want to discuss with you is YSL Libre Le Parfum. And I feel like any of the YSL Libres can sit in this list, but this is my preference out of the 4 flankers. I believe there's been 4. And this has that honeyed orange blossom feel to it, so a little bit similar to Neroli Blanc Intense. But there is other stuff going on in this fragrance that's not going on in some of the others. I love the saffron in here. It's got a beautiful note of tonka bean too. And then you've got that zesty ginger up top. So this one, I would say, sits a little bit further from some of the other fragrances that I've discussed. I would say Libre Intense is more similar to Tempfluo that I just discussed. But if you want a beast mode orange blossom fragrance that has the ginger, the saffron and the honey, that's gonna last all day, it's gonna give you the most beautiful sillage, then I would highly recommend this fragrance. I know I've spoken about it a lot on my channel, and for good reason, because I do truly feel like this is one of the best designer fragrances on the market. And the bottle is exquisite, but we're not here for the bottle, we're here for the juice. And when I think about designer orange blossoms, there are definitely lots on the market. I could have mentioned so many other fragrances in here, like Prada Paradox, even Dior Addict has a beautiful orange blossom note in there too. We have L'Interdit by Givenchy. Orange blossom, there's many good fragrances. These are just the ones that I truly resonate with and I think are incredible. I do have L'Interdit Burning Neroli, but it is more of a Neroli fragrance than an orange blossom, even though they're in the same family. Anyway, I digress. Libre Le Parfum is a gorgeous orange blossom fragrance. Orange blossom is really dominant here, but I would say there are other notes in the fragrance that are also very dominant, like the saffron, definitely the honey. It's a honeyed orange blossom, as I mentioned. And then you've got the depth there too with the vanilla, lots of vanilla, by the way. You've got the tonka bean. So that was the last orange blossom fragrance that I wanted to recommend today. Apologies, I didn't go into a lot of detail on each of the fragrances. I wanted to make this more of a comparison video in a way, but also talk you through my favorite orange blossom fragrances currently that I have in my collection. What I want to know from you are, what are some of your favorite orange blossom fragrances? Please do let me know down in the comments, because I am always on the hunt for the best orange blossom fragrance. It's a note I really enjoy. I think it's elegant and timeless. So yeah, please do share your recommendations with me. And if you have any comments on the fragrances that I also discussed in today's video, what you feel about them, how similar you feel some of them are, also please do let me know that down in the comments. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you all in a video to come. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.